Okay guys, we've got that part out of the way, and we're just heading down the road now, 2 or 3 kilometres. We're going to pull up at a bit of a hot spot there, which I think has got an old farmyard from, I don't know, maybe 100 years back, and I'm going to bring the drone up and probably do a point of interest on it. But looking back there, I was pretty happy how the Air 3S performed over that, because with my controller I can just get there and once I take some footage I can bring it back, look on the controller there, it'll play it back what I've got, and if I'm satisfied with it, I don't have to get back up and throw the drone up again. So that's a bit of a plus on that side. So like I said, we're just going down there a couple of kilometres. I just turned off onto that one, and then we're about to hit the dirt now, and this dirt track would run, I don't know, good 10 to 15 kilometres I think, and when we get further down there we just go into different areas, and while it's just up ahead, we're going to pull up and I'll show you this farmyard. But prior to that, I'll just mention that on this trip the phone fell out of my jacket pocket, and I didn't realise it was gone for 20 odd kilometres later, and I had to go and do a backtrack. But further along here I'll point out and show you the spot where the phone actually fell out, and how I know it fell out at that spot, and how I was lucky enough to recover it. So that's what the plans are on that one. And if you're looking at this track here now, you'll notice there's a lot of loose gravel on this particular road. I don't like it much at all, but that's why I don't travel it that much. But you can see the seams of gravel like either side of the road, and then a couple right up the guts of it. But anyway, that's beside the point. We're going to pull over here now, and I'm going to send up that Air 3S into this paddock, and I'll just show you this cute old remains of a it isn't totally wiped out, this shed. They'd probably still use part of it, but there was a homestead there once, or should I say a house on it, with a couple of other things. But it's a cool looking thing, and it's just over in that paddock. Anyway guys, I've got the drone mobile. Now we're using the same drone as I had back up the road, the Air 3S. I've got a couple of them, but this one's a heavy duty one, can handle a bit of wind. So I've flown it about 300 metres out through this paddock, and there's no way you'd see this old homestead from the road. Like if you look down you see nothing, but I've been here before, flown a drone over it, and I know what it looks like. But today I decided to take a video clip of it, and I tell you, this place here I reckon could tell a good story. And what sort of fascinates me is that old shed there with the twin stacks at the back, and it looks like no doubt chimneys. And I think that would have been a good place where, a lot of fun happened in the old days. But, isn't it remarkable when you can get out here and run around on something like this, have a quick look at it, and there's a bit of a close shot when I zoom in on it. So that'll do this one. Yeah, so while we're cruising down along here, there's a couple of things I want to tell you about what's going on. First one would be, if you notice the amount of gravel on this road, and this road's, real terror. I really hate riding this road along here, whether I'm going the way I'm heading now in that direction, which would be south, or if I'm swinging around and running it north. It's got some really bad sections of really thick, loose gravel. And even though I've got these tyres a little bit on the off-road side, I could still feel the tail of the bike moving around on it. But, when I was out this way, there was not much I could do. I had to cut across this way, and I usually take it a lot easier on this road because of the amount of loose gravel compared to when I'm out the other roads where I can sort of move the pace along a bit. But then again, when I was moving that pace along, I was on the red chrome, and the red chrome had the tractionator tyres on it, and I thought that was a better combo than what's on this one. So once this rear tyre wears out, I think I'll go back to the Moto's Tractionator tyres because I found those very sure-footed on different sort of terrain I had them on, and I think it's well worth the trouble to go along. Now, these areas along here, well, as far as this one goes, at this stage I'm riding and I don't realise I've already, or up a bit further, I'll go around one of the bends and then my phone will pull out and I'll realise then when I get up further still that the phone's gone and where it is, and I end up backtracking 25 kilometres along this road, and I'll tell you that story as we get up, and I'll also show you the spot where it drops as we go along. And that phone was on the ground now, or on the side of the road in this section up here for probably around about, I don't know, maybe 4 hours. Hard to believe, sitting on the side of the road, 4 hours, not actually on the road, but just off onto a driveway to someone's property. And, there was a house just up from it, probably 100 metres away, and nobody came out, nobody seen, and, the story is that phone eventually lived to... use it another day. Now, I might as well. I wasn't going to say nothing about this anyway, but we'll swing into it now. Just so sooner or later you'll find out anyway. But I bought another bike, and the other bike, or the bike I've just bought, I end up buying a Triumph Bonneville. Now, as far as things go, if you remember a few months back, when I put the word on the dealer for a new one and he wouldn't give me a discount, so I didn't want to buy it. So in other words, that one fell through. But in this case, I ended up getting onto a second-hand one. And I don't know, as a rule I don't like buying anyone's second-hand stuff, but, even I've got a bend, so, there's nothing much I could do about that, but just go ahead and decide whether I wanted to pay a new price or take a risk. Now, the last time I took a risk is on the one I'm now, and I bought that off a priest. Now, believe it or not, so far so good, and it's going. And I thought to myself afterwards, bugger it, I might take a risk and fire off again and see if I can line up a good second-hand one for, save a few $1,000s, because the Bonnevilles aren't cheap, they're pushing 19,000. And I wasn't really interested in the T120 because even though it's 1200 cc's and it's got a fair bit of power, I wasn't looking at something. They're a bit of a heavyweight, and I'm not sure the weight on those. I think they're in about 240 kilos, and the idea was I'd go for the T100 with the 900 motor, and they're about 220 or something like that in kilos. So that was the idea, and then the trouble was to hunt one out. So, to cut a long story short on that one, I looked at different publications that had them for sale and that, and I think there was about 10 of them. And I decided in the end that I'd go for a 2017 model. And if you know me history, if you go back to 2017, I actually bought a street scrambler, brand new, for I think I paid $17,500 for that street scrambler back in 2017, a red one. I really don't even know why I bought it, but I should have bought a Bonneville or one of the other sorts one in the first place, because I was never happy with a couple of things. Mainly, I don't even know why I bought it with those sidewinder pipes up in the first place, but I don't know. I think at that stage I just had a bit of money to waste, and that's what happened. So I thought this time if I get one, I definitely want one with a classic look with the both pipes, one out to each side, and that's what I sort of went after. The only trouble is when I was looking around, I would have had to travel good distance to pick up anything that was acceptable, but the ones that were acceptable had high kilometres on, like 30 to 50,000. Now, I know somebody will say 30 to 50,000 kilometres is nothing, but in my case, I think it's a fair bit because naturally I'd been used to over the years buying everything brand new. So when you buy a brand new one, there's zero, and when you buy one second-hand, 30 or 50,000, sounds like a lot of kilometres. So anyway, I hunted around. I was getting interested in one, but that sale fell through when the woman who was was corresponding with, she told me that the husband had passed away and she's just selling off his bikes. And I thought, and that's complicated too, so, I would have had to travel about 500 kilometres to get it. Yeah, so you could say just by sheer luck, one came up close from where I live. Well, not real close, but say within 50 kilometres. Now, I'd already looked at around about 10 of them for sale at this stage, and, in my case, I don't like driving much anywhere, and getting there and picking one up or for an inspection at least 50 k's away was well worth the trouble to get into it and have a go. So I sent him a message out and just asked him a few questions about it, and asked the bloke what sort of offer he'd take for it, and he come back and he told me he wanted 12,000 for it, but 11,000 was doable. So, I thought, doable, that sounds like an older bloke talking. And I asked him, could I come down and have a bit of a look at it, which I did. And I think it was, next morning I think it was, I got in the car and drove down there and had a look, and I was thinking, I won't take any money with me or anything like that. I'll just go down and check her out. If I want to go further, I'll work on it that way, because, that's probably how I work in most cases, unless it's something I really want. So I got there, had a look at the bike. He was really nice to talk to, really well-to-do area, wasn't short of $1, so anything like that. And he told me he wanted 12 grand and he'd take, like I said earlier, 11,000. That was the price. So I looked it over, and it had one really major fault when I was looking at it, and that was it's black. Now, what I mean by black, it's all black. It's black on the tank, on the side covers, mud guards, bloody motor, and also the exhaust too. And naturally I realised that before I went down, but until I'd seen it, it sort of reminded me more like, the Enfield, blacked out Enfield. So, I sort of looked it over, and I just asked him a few questions on it, and the main question I asked him how long he had it for, and because when you're buying bikes up anyone, sometimes they'll tell you some story on it, and then you've got to ask them the story again when you get there. And I've done this quite a few times in cars, and their story varies from the one I told you, because they've been talking to different people, and then you know how much full of shit they are. But no, he said that this particular bike was purchased by his wife, brand new, from the local dealership when it was operating, and he got that as a present. So I would say he got it as a retirement present, because he told me he was 76, and the reason he was getting rid of the bike, he'd lost a bit of confidence and he just had a triple bypass. So I thought that was a pretty good excuse. It's not an excuse you'd probably make up to someone. So I believe that side of the story, and looked over the bike. Sure enough, it come with both keys, books, and it only had 3,700 kilometres on the clock. And, he rarely rides it. So, he probably rode it, working it out like that, 400 or 500 kilometres a year, and which isn't very fast, you could say. So then I asked him, what's it go like out along the road? And he said, it runs beautiful. I said, what's it like high-speed cruising? Oh, he said, it cruises along well at 95 kilometres an hour. So that was indicating to me he hadn't ridden it much faster than 95 k's an hour, so the bike had a very easy life. So, once again, looked it over. It was nice in the paintwork, panels, things like that. So I just said to him, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, you want 11,000 for it? Is that correct? And he said, yeah. I said, I was thinking of giving you 10 for it, but how about we meet halfway on 10,500, and if so, we do a deal. And he sort of looked it over, and I said to him, I'll come straight out with it now. Black is not my favourite colour. It's only that you're fairly close to where I live, and you might save me a trip further out with the people I was going to deal with in Sydney. And, either 10,500, 11,000 I'll walk, 10,500 I'll buy. Now that was the way I was working, and, he agreed on 10,500. So a couple of days later I went back and picked it up and brought it back home. Okay guys, here's a bit of a look at the bike. This was taken in full sun when I went on the first ride on it. And, black bikes are really hard to photograph, and as you can see they're in full sun. I don't think it's all that inspiring when you're look into them that way. But, some people like total black bikes and, leave a comment if you think black's okay or, am I wrong on the choice and so on and forth. Here's a quick shot of the Speedo showing 3,800 something kilometres on it. Like I said, when I got it, it was around 37 and I've taken it out twice now. And then the best shot is really under the veranda, out of the sun, and then you can just see it there sitting in more like total shade. Yes, I thought I'd get off that Bonneville side for a moment, and I'll carry that on in part 3 of the series where I tell you how I get down and straight off I score a check engine light. But anyway, back to this one. So I'm back here on the Classic 350 Reborn, and we're still heading on this trip. So all you've been watching so far is I've still got the phone in my pocket, haven't dropped it yet. And what I do like about this sort of run out here, it's got some nice windy stretches of road along here. Now, as a rule, I do ride this part we're on now quite regularly, and very rarely I find any cars coming along here. You might get the odd one, but they're not going to come along like a like a modern highway further out where they're scooting along all the time. But I do find I can come along here at 60, 80, well, let's not say 60, round about 80, 90, 100 kilometres an hour on the Classic 350 Reborn. And it does a really good job on these bends and really does sound good. And there's not much hill pulling except when we get up a little bit further, whether then we're in a steeper territory there. We're coming up to a corner here now on the left-hand side, which if you're coming from this direction is a bit risky because, cars will sort of see you, but they don't take any notice of you and have been known to pull out when you do get them. But those cars coming from that way are usually sightseers out of the place called White Rocks or a rock forest, and people go out there and look at those things, photograph them. I've been there with a drone quite a few times, and that's where you're going to most likely find those people who are just visitors to the area. Now on the Enfield now I'm doing a really steep pull up this hill, so it's all up along here and really good grade, and I usually have to get back to about third gear to keep it moving along all right. But like I said, it's one bloody steep pull. At the top of this hill, the place I called in once when they were having eggs for sale, and got a big sign up, eggs $5 a dozen or something it was at the time. And when I got there, I went over and have a look, and the sign said no eggs today. So that was a good bloody laugh. But like I said, this is all uphill pulling for this little bike, and when you've only got 20 horsepower on tap, you're sort of working it fairly hard to get over this section here. But once you get over it, you go through a couple of dips, and that was that spot. Oh, that's a roadside park just there now as we're passing. That's where it is, and we've got one car just past then. So as we head down along here now, I'm getting close to calling this video quits, but I'm going to go right to the spot where I dropped the phone. Now, how I actually know I dropped the phone at this spot is, especially when I never picked it up, like I actually come back along this road and missed it, and because I'm on the other side of the road and I dropped it on this side. So you'll find that when we get up a little bit further, I'll show you that exact spot. And it was that point that was sitting on the ground there for 4 hours, because I was still riding this road up there. Like I said, at this present moment, I've still got it in my pocket, but something went wrong in the next minute or so, where I come down this hill here and then start this little bit of an incline on the other side. And this is a good story with this phone side, and I'll include that on my next clip. And we're right at the base of this hill now, and we're heading up along it, and this is the area where I dropped the phone. So when we get up along here, we're looking for a sort of a water drain outlet to the left-hand side. It goes to a property, and it'll come up fairly quick in a minute. And that is the point where something, I don't know how, must have just bounced out of my pocket. And looking at my speedo, I'm still doing about 70 kilometres now. So, you know, it had a little bit of damage on the phone, but nothing serious. And over to your left, you can see a slight silhouette of a house there. But we're coming into it very close now, and I'll tell you where it is. It's just there. Now that is the spot the door ended up going back 4 hours later after I tried, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that on the next clip. So we'll close this one now, and cheers for now.